Hi all, this is Disha Shukla and welcome to the session. In this session we are going to discuss about IEEE 802.11 standard. So it is basically a standard that has been defined for all the network related functionalities. So IEEE 802.11 is a set of media access control, that is MAC, and physical layer specifications for implementing the wireless local area network computer communication in the range of 900 MHz and 2.4, 3.6, 5 and 60 GHz frequency band. That is, there are four different frequency band wherein this is implemented. IEEE 802.11 is implemented for the wireless LANs, and it is actually a set of media access control, that is the MAC, and the physical layer specifications. Now the IEEE 802.11 IEEE developed an international standard for wireless LANs, and the 802.11 standard focuses mainly on the bottom two layers of the OSI model, that is the physical layer and the data link layer. The objective of IEEE 802.11 standard was to define a medium access control sublayer, that is MAC management protocols and services, and three physical layers, that is for wireless connectivity of a fixed, portable and moving devices within a local area. The three physical layers are an IR based band physical layer, an frequency hopping spread spectrum radio in 2.4 GHz band, and a direct sequence spread spectrum radio in a 2.4 GHz. The IEEE 802.11 architecture is again another point that is important. So the architecture of IEEE 802.11 wireless LAN is designed to support a network where most decision making is distributed to the mobile stations. This type of architecture has several advantages. It is tolerant of the faults in all of the wireless LAN equipments and eliminates the possible bottlenecks, that is, a centralized architecture will be introduced. The architecture is flexible and can easily support both small transient networks and large or semi-permanent and permanent networks. In addition, the architecture and protocols offer significant power saving and prolong the battery life of the mobile equipment without losing the network. The two important architectures that I defined in IEEE 802.11 standard are infrastructure network and point-to-point or ad hoc network. An infrastructure network is the network architecture that provides communication between the wireless clients and the wired networks. The transition of the data from the wireless to the wired medium occurs via an access point or AP. An AP and its associated wireless clients define the coverage area, and together all the devices form a basic service set. In a point-to-point ad hoc network, an ad hoc network is the architecture that is used to support mutual communication between the wireless clients. Typically, an ad hoc network is created spontaneously and does not support access to the wired networks. An ad hoc network does not require an access point. So this is basically the whole architecture of an IEEE 802.11, wherein there are different stations, access points defined. There is a distribution system, there is an extended service set, that is ESS, there is a basic service set, BSS, and there is an STA, that is the station. Now all of this will be discussed further. So moving on, the IEEE 802.11 supports three basic topologies for wireless LAN. The independent basic service set, that is the IBSS, the basic service set, and the extended service set. The MAC layer supports the implementation of IBSS, basic services, service sets and ESS configurations. Now, what is Independent Basic Service Set, that is IBSS? The IBSS configuration is referred to as an independent configuration or an ad hoc network. An IBSS configuration is analogous to a peer-to-peer office network in which no single node is required to act as a server. IBSS wireless LANs include a number of nodes or wireless stations that communicate directly with one another on an ad hoc or peer-to-peer basis. Now, generally an IBSS implementation covers a limited area and are not connected to any large area. And an IBSS is typically a short-lived network with a small number of stations that is created for a particular purpose. So IBSS is simply an independent configuration, or it is an ad hoc network that is typically built for a short period of time, or it is called a short-lived network, and it has very less number of stations in it, and it is typically built for satisfying some particular purpose. I mean, you have some agenda for it, and that is why you will be building an IBSS. The next is the basic service set. The basic service set configuration relies on an AP that acts as a logical server for a single wireless LAN cell or a channel. The communication between the station 1 and station 4 actually follow from the station 1 to AP1, and then from AP1 to AP2, and then from AP2 to AP4, and finally from AP4 to station 4. Now this is something that has been depicted over here, where the station will be communicating via the particular line. So this is the access point based topology, and it is basically implemented in the basic service set, and the communication occurs in that form. That is, the station 1 will communicate to AP1, further it will communicate to AP2, and then to station 4 gradually. An AP, that is the access point, performs a bridging function and connects multiple wireless LAN cells or channels, and connects wireless LAN cells to a wired enterprise LAN. The third type of service set that we have is called the extended service set. The ESS configuration consists of multiple basic service set cells that can be linked by either wired or wireless backbones, called a distribution system. So here actually there are multiple basic service set cells, and they are connected to each other using a wired or a wireless system that forms a distributed system. The IEEE 802.11 supports ESS configurations in which multiple cells use the same channel, and configuration in which the multiple cells use different channels to boost the aggregate throughput. To network the equipment outside of the ESS and all of its mobile stations appear to be a single MAC layer network, where all the stations are physically stationary. Thus, the ESS hides the mobility of the mobile station from everything outside the ESS. Now, some of the advantages that we have on wireless LANs include that they provide a clutter-free home, office and other networked places. That is, there are no clutters over there. That the LANs are scalable in nature, that is, the device may be added or removed from the network at a greater ease than a wired LANs. Now, whenever your devices are connected in a wired LAN, whenever you add a device or remove it, you have to physically add a wire or remove it. So that becomes quite tedious. So in a LAN, so here the wireless LANs are scalable in nature. Now the system is portable within the network coverage and across to the network, is not bounded by the length of the cable. Now here the length of the cable does not bound your system because it is a wireless system. Here, the installation and the setup is much easier than the wired counterparts. And the equipments and the setup costs are also reduced because here you don't actually need a physical wire for connection. Moving on to the disadvantages, we have that since the radio waves are used for communication, the signals are noisier with more interference from the nearby system. Greater care is needed for encrypting the information, and also they are more prone to the errors, so they require greater bandwidth than the wired LANs. Wireless LANs are slower than the wired LANs. Now, some of the services that we have in the IEEE 802.11 architecture are that the IEEE 802.11 defines 9 services that needs to be provided by the wireless LAN to provide the functionality equivalent to that which is inherent to the wired LANs. Now, some of them are listed in a table. We'll be seeing that soon. The service provider can be either the station or the DS, that is the direct stations that we have. Now, the station services are implemented in every 802.11 stations, including the access point stations. Distribution services are provided between the BSS. These services may be implemented in an access point or in another special purpose device attached to the distribution system. 3 of the services are used to control IEEE 802.11 LAN accesses and confidentiality, and 6 of the services are used to support delivery of the MAC service data units, that is the MSDUs between the stations. The MSDU is a block of data passed down from the MAC user to the MAC layer, and typically it is a LLC PDU. Now, if the MSDU is too large to be transmitted in the single MAC frame, it may be fragmented and transmitted in a series of MAC frames. Now, these are the different 9 services that are provided by IEEE 802.11. So, the 2 services involved with the distribution of the message within a distributed system are distribution and integration. The distribution is the primary service used by the stations to exchange the MAC frames when the frame must travel the DS to get from a station in one BSS to a station in another BSS. If the 2 stations that are communicating are within the same BSS, then the distribution service logically goes through a single access point of that base station substation. The integration service enables transfer of the data between a station on an IEEE 802.11 LAN and a station on an integrated IEEE 802.X LAN. Now here X defines different numbers. Starting from 1 to 16, there are different standards that have been defined by IEEE 802.X standards. The term integrated refers to a wired LAN that is physically connected to the DS and whose stations may be logically connected to an IEEE 802.11 LAN via an integration service. The integration service takes care of an address translation and the media conversion logic that is required for the exchange of the data. The association related services. The primary purpose of the MAC layer is to transfer the MSDUs between the MAC entities. That is, the purpose of that this purpose is fulfilled by the distribution service. For that service to function, it requires the information about the station within the ESS that is provided by the association related services. The standard defines 3 transition types based on the modality. The first is no transition. A station of this type is either stationary or moves only within the direct communication range of the communicating stations of a single base station substation. So here the stations that are associated in the distributed system would remain either stationary or they would only move within some communication range, within some particular area only. The BSS transmission. This is defined as a station movement from one BSS to another BSS within the same ESS. In this case, the delivery of the data to the station requires that the addressing capability can be recognized the new location of the station. Now it is something similar to the things that we saw in GSM. That is, whenever your particular device is not available in its home location, you need its foreign location. So this is similar here. Here what does it say is that when a station is moving from one BSS to another BSS in the same ESS, that is the extended service substation. So in that case, you also need the addressing capability, so that you have to find the new location of the station. And the third is the ESS transition. Now this is defined as a station moving from a BSS in one ESS to a BSS within another ESS. This case is supported only in the sense that the station can move. Now maintenance of the upper layer connection supported by 802.11 cannot be guaranteed. In fact, the disruption of the service is likely to occur. So this one is again similar to the ones that we saw in the handovers. I mean, here the actual station is moving from a BSS of one ESS to the BSS of another ESS. Now, to deliver a message within a distributed system, the distribution services needs to know where the destination station is located. Specifically, the DS needs to know the identity of the access point to which the message should be delivered in order for that message to reach the destination station. Now, to meet this requirement, a station must maintain an association with the access point within its current base station substation. And the three services related to this requirement are association, reassociation, and deassociation. So association is establishing an initial association between a station and an access point. Before a station can transmit or receive the frames on a wireless LAN, its identity and address must be known. For this purpose, a station must establish an association with an access point within a particular BSS. The AP can then communicate this information to the other AP within the ESS to facilitate the routing and delivery of the addressed message. So here the concept is related to establishing an initial association and defining where a particular station is. Now, reassociation. Reassociation enables an established association to be transferred from one AP to another, allowing a mobile station to move from one BSS to another. Disassociation. A notification from either a station or an access point that an existing association is terminated. A station should give this notification before leaving an ESS or shutting down. However, the MAC management facilities provide itself against the stations that disappear without notification. So these are the three different services that are associated with delivery of the message. Moving further, the conclusion here is that IEEE 802.11 architecture and IEEE 802.11 services are something that is asked, and you need to understand that and learn that. Now, if you have any questions in that, you can ask me. Until then, keep learning.